Welcome to In Conversation with Hemali. It is so difficult to let a book go when it is very, very interesting. And this novel in particular, it makes me kind of stick on, and I don't want to put it away. Stories transport us to a new world, and the author creates images of that new world with words. The role of a writer is not to just, not to say what we all can say, but what we are unable to say. Keeping that in mind, my guest today, that is Prithvi Narayan, a 16-year-old student and a publisher of 2 novels, Home Away from Home and Reciprocity, decided to kind of put his imagination into words and became a conscious dreamer. Writing is an art and should be considered nothing short of it. This quote is what inspired Prithvi to create his own, the Prithvi Narayan Foundation for Creative Writing. Mind you, he is just 16. A warm welcome to Prithvi Narayan on In Conversation with Hemali. Hi, Prithvi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and it's so exciting to have you here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm so honored to be on.
Thank you, Prithvi. Prithvi, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. So hi, my name is Prithvi Narayan. I am 15, almost 16 years old. I'm a student and a published author of 2 novels, both of which are in my hand: Home Away from Home on my left hand, and Reciprocity, as Hemali just showed you. Both of them are sort of fantasy fiction sort of novels, which are similar in some aspects, but in many others very unique, because the first one is a science fiction intergalactic sort of an outer space sort of a novel, and Reciprocity is more than underworld sort of a novel. So very, very varying concepts, but still similar and connected in the way that they're both fantasy and far from the reality that you and I face every single day.
Right.
So writing these novels, as Hemali said, it is an art, and I think that people, especially here in Singapore, are sort of oblivious to the fact that creative writing is even existent, and it's like something that they can fall in love with, because it's something that I fell in love with, and that's why I started the Prithvi Narayan Foundation for Creative Writing, because I feel that people in Singapore should be more aware of the fact that this medium of expression, of creative expression, sort of exists, and my goal is to sort of throw light on that and sort of bring forward that is possible and you can do it.
Such a fantastic thought, Prithvi, and that too when you were so young. I mean, did this thought come in your mind, recently, or was this a few years back that you thought of?
The writing itself was a sort of an accidental discovery. Actually, I discovered these different online platforms in which I can write just creatively, not for money or anything, just a place to pen down my ideas and thoughts and let other people read it. I remember very first day I wrote a very short story, and I got about 100 views, or like 120 something views on the website, and that really, I was like, wow, that's cool. Like, I just did it for fun. I hit publish because I was like, you know what, it's worth a shot. Let's see what people think of it. And I pretty much haven't stopped ever since. That happened when I was about, I want to say 13 and a half, something like that.
Right.
And obviously ever since I've written my first Home Away from Home came out 2 years ago when I was 14, and Reciprocity last year when I was 15.
So do I understand it correctly that at 13 and a half is the age when you kind of realized that you had the art of penning down your thoughts?
Absolutely, and it's when I instantly sort of fell in love with it. It was a connection where it was more like, oh, I've been alive for so long. Why haven't I realized that this is a possibility?
So long years.
I mean, yeah. I mean, relative, like, to how short a while it took me to fall in love with it, because it was a sort of a 2-day sort of a thing, and I kept writing, and I finished that story in about a week when I said that I would release a chapter every week. So I just couldn't stop since, as I said. So.
All right. So Prithvi, how and what did it take for you to realize your dream of becoming an author?
It was, again, as I say, a sort of accidental thing, but I feel like knowing that I had the ability to sort of write, and that I had the opportunity more than anything really, that I had been gifted with to write, I sort of felt that it would be a little bit sinister not to nab that opportunity. So what, like, it's a sort of a mutual thing, like with me and the concept of creative writing, because I found creative writing at the same time that creative writing found me in a way, because I there was such a even like such an emotional connection in a way, because that's all I wanted to do when I first discovered it. That's all. I didn't want to do homework. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to come home, get on my computer, and type words. That was about the extent of a couple of months of my life. I'm not even joking for a second right now. But it's sort of interesting because I sort of didn't expect it to become such a big part of my life. I was like, oh, it's just going to be like I have Instagram and I have all these things. It's just going to be, oh, it's just another platform. I write a couple of things. Like I post pictures on Instagram every now and again. I just thought it was that kind of an idea. But when I realized that people do actually enjoy what I do, and people were giving me feedback on how to improve, and I was like, wow, it's a beautiful community. People actually care about my stuff and they want me to improve. There's no sort of, there's no putting each other down here. So I was like, I love this community. I love this world. And that's what I want to do.
Fantastic. And while I'm reading this book, while I read Reciprocity, I must say that, it is very interesting, and I honestly don't want to put it down because it takes me into a different kind of a world altogether. So although I'm not done with the book, I must say that, you've done well there. You can kind of keep the reader glued. So well done.
I really do. It is sort of a goal of mine, because I did, despite this novel being, the concept of it being so far from reality, one of my biggest goals was to make the characters relatable. Right. That was one of my biggest goals of both novels, because there has to be that connection with the reader.
Sure. So Prithvi, did you kind of have in mind that you're looking at a certain age group, to read these books, or did you kind of keep it open for any age group to kind of get glued to it?
At first, I was a little bit naive as an author, so it was more, oh, absolutely, this book's perfect for anyone. Anyone can come and read it. It's great. It's fantastic. Obviously, that wasn't the case in hindsight, in retrospect, because the novels that I've written, the sort of level of vocabulary, level of all these kinds of things are very sort of oriented towards young adults and teenagers, so people actually of my age and slightly younger. And because these books are like, they're sort of the things that you think about as a kid. You're like, oh, aliens, they're so cool. I love aliens. I love this thing. I love that. So definitely the first book, because it was a very sort of kiddish book in its own way. The second one though was more of a because it encapsulated themes of, as I'm sure you've come across, death and things like that. So that one is meant for slightly older age group. So I would probably be at 16, about the somewhere at the lower end of it. I reckon anywhere above 13, 14 years old and above. That's a decent target audience.
Right. But I have to say that, I am above that age and I'm still liking it very much. I'm enjoying the book a lot. Yes.
That's the thing about having these sort of not very specified and sort of these like extremely mature themes. Like, you read books now and they're very necessary, about poverty and stuff like that. It's very, you can't have a really big target audience for these kinds of books, which is why I love writing fiction personally, because it's just applicable to so many people.
Right. So Prithvi, I'm sure, writing a book takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and you kind of get into the character that you're writing about. So how do you balance your academics and being an author?
Yeah, that was a challenge. I'm not gonna lie. It was sort of a learning curve for me, because I had to develop these time management skills in a way, because I had to balance a fair deal of work, and obviously as I grew older, the work only became harder and more in quantity. So I think the idea is to stay as productive as you can for short periods of time, and then take a break, and then do it again for short periods of time. So what I used to do is, usually I worked on a 30 minutes and 10 minutes sort of a thing. So I'd study or write, depending on what I was doing, for 30 minutes and then break for 10. And then if I felt like I was in a point in my writing where I had to continue, like I had an idea in my mind or something to how to advance the story, I write for another 30 minutes and then study after that. So it's a very sort of organizational thing. I had to I came home, sat on my computer, did this amount of work for 30 minutes, and then took a break for 10 minutes, just went on my bed or just went on my phone or something like that.
So does it mean, what you're trying to say is that it's all about time management and prioritizing what is important, right?
Exactly. And as well as limiting distractions, which I've grown to become better at.
Great. And at that age to kind of hold on to distractions is not easy for sure. But anyways, did you face any challenges in the process of authoring or publishing the book or making people believe in you? Did you face any challenges?
Yeah, no, it's not, again, as I said, it's not a very easy process, and it's been a learning curve. It still is a learning curve for me, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say probably the biggest challenge I faced was in my second novel, and that is bearing in mind that I've already written a novel and I've already done it once. But still, I felt like I faced the biggest challenge in the second novel, because the kind of writer I am is, we call it in the writing community, we call it a pantser. And that's basically, so it's the idea that you start writing and then you figure out what to do as you write, as opposed to sitting down and planning, whatever, how many ever pages, okay, this is exactly how the story is going to go, and that's how it's going to be, and that's how it's going to end. So for Reciprocity, it was a very, okay, I'm gonna write like 10 pages and then see where that goes, see how I write and stuff like that. And there were multiple times in which I didn't like the way the story took shape. So I had to sort of delete it and then rewrite it in a specific way that I wanted it to flow until I was sort of happy with the outcome that I eventually got. So that was one of the biggest challenges that I faced. And also what goes often without anybody talking about it is the things that happen before and after you write the book. Because it's not a very A to Z process. There's a lot of things that go on before and definitely a lot of things that go on after, because even for me as a pantser, I don't have to do too much planning. Obviously, a little bit of planning is required, and getting that idea in your head is extremely difficult to do. I've been out of an idea for about two months or something like that for now, but that happens to every writer. People like famous authors, J.K. Rowling and everyone, have had that problem for years together, not having an idea and stuff like that. So getting that idea is very hard. And then also after the book, there's a lot of things like to get it to actual, that's the opposite way, to get it to paperback is you need to design the cover, you need to make sure all the legal stuff is good, copyrights, tables, you submit it to publishers. So there's lots of things that go on in the background. And obviously as a new author, I wasn't privy to a lot of this stuff. And so that was probably, I had to do a lot of research in the background and challenge.
Right. So Prithvi, did you need a lot of family support, or did you have, others supporting you in order for you to kind of fulfill your dream?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest inspirations for writing any of these novels, and most things that I do for that matter, whether or not related to creative writing, is my family, and they're extremely, extremely supportive. I absolutely love them for that, because they've proofread both novels, they've given me ideas. My mom actually suggested how Reciprocity should end, and that's the way it actually did. So, so there's a lot of support, and obviously the before and after stages again is very sort of as a minor in a way. I'm not sort of at the level that I could be in the future with regard to publishing, contacting publishers, paying these fees, paying those fees, designing the cover books and stuff like that. So both my mom and my dad really came in handy, and my brother is great too. He's always in the background shouting ideas for me, and he's like,
happy to hear this. Wonderful. So would you agree with the quote, fantasy is a necessary ingredient in living? It's a way of looking at life through the wrong end of a telescope. That's a quote by Dr. Seuss. I ask you this as you write fantasy novels, and do you agree with that quote?
I absolutely agree with that quote. Actually, this is one of my favorite quotes. I've heard of it before as well. It's so important. It's sort of ironic in a way that fantasy is so far from reality, but in a way it's so close to reality. And that's extremely ambiguous what I just said, but it's again, as I said, it's ironic because you have to consider the numerous perspectives that there are in this world about even a single topic. It could be so mundane and it could be absolutely anything. And there are probably like a million different perspectives about it. And reading fantasy, I feel like it always gives you that sort of interesting perspective that you have probably never even thought of in with regard to that topic, because it's so unique, and fantasy as a genre is so vast that that you can never finish reading fantasy. Like there's always something else for you there waiting.
I
So
agree, absolutely.
Telescope is absolutely perfect, because you need to look through that wrong end of the telescope in order to get a full gauge on a particular topic.
Yes, indeed. In fact, being a drama teacher, we have situations where in a classroom I would, throw across a fairy tale and say, all right, twist it around. And it's interesting how, each person thinks differently. So yeah, it is really nice. And you've done a great job there.
You can so many perspectives. You can draw so many things from a single book. Like maybe I didn't intend to write it a certain way, but people could read it a certain way and a different perspective and have different sort of takeaways from the characters and the settings and stuff like that. And that's the beauty.
Yes, that's the beauty, yes. So Prithvi, share that moment, when you first announced to your friends and your family that you're going to publish a novel. What kind of a feeling was that?
It was exhilarating, extraordinary even, because it was a very like everyday setting. My parents were sitting on the couch. My brother was there too. I sort of walked up to them and I was like, okay, I finished my book. What are you talking about, man? And I was like, yeah, no, I finished the book. For a second they were like, no, you didn't. Like you're lying. And then I brought my laptop because I didn't have it in paperback form at the time, of course. I brought them the laptop and I kept scrolling up my thing. It's a long form writing, right? It's about 250 pages. I kept going and they're sort of sitting there like, this is not ending. This is keeping me. It's not lying. It was pretty funny, to say the least, actually. And then obviously we got it printed and it came home. And to be honest, I was even like, having written it, I was surprised at how good it was. Not to toot my own horn, but it was such a magical moment, because I remember I was not home when the book first arrived. When Home Away from Home first came to my house, I was not at home, and I think it was my dad who took the parcel, and he sent me a picture of it. I was with my friends. I left my friends and I came home. That's how I was like, okay, guys, I gotta go. I got something at home, and I came back to see it. And I honestly never made a better decision in my life.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
wonderful. So Prithvi, any funny incidents, while penning down your thoughts on paper, or anything, while you went to the publisher, or at any point of during your journey?
It's just so many I can think of. Probably my favorite while writing Home Away from Home. I had to name aliens.
Okay.
I had to name aliens because they had to have names. And it was just the funniest thing, just listening to myself and like thinking, like just like watching myself name these aliens, because it's so, it was just hilarious. Alien names, you know how they sound, they're sort of I'm not sure, like I'm serious, right? It's a very sort of foreign language, like you couldn't have even imagined it. Like I'll tell you some of the names. It's Pluitomt, Avi Trip, Plokimos. Yeah, so they're like hilarious names. It's like I'm sitting there.
Interesting.
One of the names was my name reversed.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, not in reciprocity. In Home Away from Home, it's my name reversed with an A at the start instead of an I.
Wow. Can you say that name aloud, please?
Avi Trip.
Wow. All right. Okay.
Anybody made that connection while reading the book, props to them, because I honestly, like, even like my parents didn't find it, and they obviously, my mom gave birth to me, so that was a bit surprising. But I mean, I'm just saying, it was just hilarious because I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, what am I? I'm just kind of like hitting keys on my laptop, and I was like, okay, that's it, that works. Wow. I stayed out loud. Sounds pretty alien to me, So I sort of
yeah, that must have been fun for sure, I'm sure. And any situation where you were with your friends and they kind of, when you spoke to them about your book, anything that happened at that point of time?
Yeah, they didn't really believe me the first time. I'm not kidding, because I was like, oh guys, I wrote a book. I didn't really tell anyone when I was in the process. I just kind of told them at the end. The only people who knew were my family, really. So I was like, oh yeah, I wrote a book, and they were like, no, you didn't. You're lying. Like you're just messing around. Reaction really is my family, but I showed it to them.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you so very much, Prithvi, for being with us and for sharing your journey with us. You are indeed a bright young man, and for you, I'm sure the sky is the limit in the true sense. And to my audience, Prithvi is soon publishing his third novel named The Course of Justice. It is written in a British setting with the policeman trying to solve a murder case. And Prithvi has an Instagram account for his novels, which I'll be adding on into the description, and you can kind of follow him. Prithvi, thank you very much. You are a bright young man, like I said before, and it has been a complete pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise, it's been so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prithvi.